welcome. Very excited for all the things that you're going to see today. I'm excited to welcome you to the Kadence Amplify today. Our sessions today are designed to build your learning, solidify your knowledge, and help you grow. We have some amazing speakers who are going to give you some great tips, advice, and information. All of our sessions are being recorded today, so you'll have a chance not only to rewatch the ones that you see today, but also to watch sessions in the other track or that you couldn't get to live today. You'll be able to see those on the Kadence YouTube channel in the coming weeks. You also have opportunities to ask questions in the chat today, and I'll bring them up during the Q&A after each speaker finishes their presentation. So let's get started. Our first speaker today is a friend of mine, Jamie Marsland, who's going to talk about how he grew his YouTube channel to 100,000, I'm guessing also plus 100,000 plus subscribers. Jamie spent his career building online businesses and has held board-level technical and commercial roles at private and publicly listed companies. Prior to founding Poodle Press, Jamie was managing director of Pavilion Publishing Limited, and before that, chief technical officer of Documedia PLC. He's trained over 5,000 people on WordPress in the past 10 years, and Poodle Press WordPress plugins are used by thousands of customers worldwide. For the past 3 years, Jamie has grown his YouTube channel to over 100,000 subscribers. He now works at Automatic as head of WordPress YouTube. So let's bring him on screen. Hello, Jamie.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Well, it's Friday afternoon, where I am anyway. It's Friday afternoon and it's not raining. So I'm great. Thanks.
There you go. I had to stop myself from saying good morning because it's not morning for everybody, including yourself. It is morning for me, and I'm starting it's a beautiful day. So I'm excited to hear your talk. Of course, you know, you and I go way back, and I appreciate everything that you share, and I'm excited to hear your talk.
Cool. Thank you so much. Oh, that's working great. Hi, everyone. If you've got any questions, please ask away. We're going to have some time for Q&As at the end. But this presentation is called 10 Rules to Grow Your YouTube Channel to 100,000 subscribers, make lots of money and change your life, which it did for me, actually. It's an incredible journey. So first off, big stat, why YouTube? So this is mind-blowing. So as of 2024, YouTube has more than 2.7 billion users every month, which is 51% of all people who use the internet. Incredible number. 1/3 of everyone in the world uses YouTube monthly. That's an incredible number. And over half of the people who use the internet on their phones visit YouTube each month. And it's disrupting mainstream media as well. So it's astonishingly popular. That's the reason we're here. Just a tiny bit on my background to give you a bit of context. I didn't just arrive at having a YouTube channel. So as Michelle mentioned a few minutes ago, I started Poodle Press about 14 years ago. And I started off as just a training business, and I would trundle around the country. I'm from England, and this is a photograph of one of my training sessions. And I would book meeting rooms or pub rooms, and I would train people on WordPress. I'd have sort of 10 to 15 to 20 people in a room, depending on where I went. And you can see on the screen in the middle of the table, there's a little plug bank where everyone would plug their laptops into, and I'd take my own projector. Often I'd take my own screen around to start with as well. And I would run these courses. I would set up multi-sites, so everyone had a blank WordPress website to start with. And by the end of the day, it lasted from 10 till 4 p.m. They would be able to build a website with WordPress. So it was a complete beginner's guide to WordPress. And over a space of about 12 years, I trained over 5,000 people. So it was an incredible privilege to see how everyone was using WordPress. It's incredible learning as well to see how actually people like walking around and seeing how the problems they're having and the pain points they're having gives you an enormous amount of learning. And the next slide is, these are the places I went to. So forgive me if my dots are slightly in the wrong places, but I'd go up to Scotland. So I'd get like 4 o'clock flights in the morning, go up to Edinburgh and teach. This is London. So most weeks I'd go to London because London was a big market for WordPress. I'd get a very early train and go to London. This one down here, hopefully you can see my cursor, is Exeter and Cheltenham from where I'm from, and then also Birmingham. So lots and lots of traveling. And during that time, I also trained lots of corporates. So I'd go into places like the NHS and train them. So huge amount of experience. Also during that time as well, just to give you a bit more context, I also started running courses for The Guardian. They ran a series of digital masterclasses. And here you can see me actually in the paper, which was a surprising day when I opened the paper. I had no idea this was happening. And there was my face staring back at me in The Guardian. So I ran digital masterclasses for them for about 5 years in their offices in London. Again, but the public would come to these, mostly DIYers in terms of where they're coming from, but also quite a few agencies along the road as well that were looking to transfer to WordPress and learn more about WordPress. Along that journey as well, I realized, I understood what people's pain points were. And from that, released a whole bunch of plugins. Here's just two of them. One called Gutenberg Pro, which extends the core Gutenberg blocks, and another one called Block Injector, which is really cool, actually. It lets you dynamically inject layouts anywhere within your site. So you have a central layout, and then you can basically insert it dynamically anywhere on your site. Especially useful for WooCommerce sites. But anyway, I'm not here to plug my plugins. And then, as Michelle also mentioned, I do have an enterprise background. So I had a corporate life before forming WordPress. So that just gives you a bit of context of how I got to kind of YouTube and some of my background. And my YouTube properly started around 2020. This is a photograph of my wife, who's a yoga teacher, runs a yoga studio. And she was following a big yoga YouTuber. And she mentioned to me during COVID that I should really get into YouTube. And I was a little bit sneering about the whole thing. And I kind of dismissed it, frankly, which she has some fun with now. But she was definitely right. And I sort of started to commit to producing some videos sort of post 2020. So I'm going to take you through how I YouTube now. And now everything you're about to see is how I've done it, but I would emphasize this is only my journey. So if you're going to go off on this yourselves, sure, there's going to be some learnings here for you, hopefully. But one of the beautiful things about YouTube, it's kind of a creative space where you can do your own thing. But hopefully I'm going to give you some top tips on how you can accelerate things. This is kind of currently where I'm at. It's actually a bit more than that now. So I'm about 133,000 subscribers. So the growth is, and you'll find this in YouTube, the growth definitely picks up as you go along and the audience starts to talk about your videos and you get better at the craft as well. And I've made about 458 videos. First rule I would say is just to repeat myself. This is your space, and it's one of the joyous things about YouTube that it's kind of like this fantastic sandpit where you can basically be creative. So I would say encourage you to embrace the creative freedom that this gives you. And one of the joys for me of running a YouTube channel is I get to discover all sorts of fantastic things. And I also get to interview some heroes of mine. So Rand Fishkin is a big hero of mine. I'm actually got him back on the channel in December on my channel to talk about zero-click marketing. So you should come and watch that. And it's fun. I interviewed him previously. So it's one of the joys of WordPress. I would say whatever you do on this journey, enjoy it. It's an incredible space where you can be creative. And then if you take nothing else from what I'm about to talk about today, this is the thing I would say, I would urge you to take out of it. The most important lesson I have for growing a YouTube channel is you need to commit to at least one video per week. And regardless, publish one video per week. Perfection will be your enemy. So just tell yourself you're going to commit to one video a week and everything else flows from that commitment. So the quality will improve, your storytelling will improve, the quality of your videos will improve, but it's all about just making sure you have a cadence to your publishing process. When I started out, I had, I think, about 3 ideas for videos I wanted to make that I thought would be interesting. Now I literally have a spreadsheet, and I'm going to talk you through my process in a few minutes. I have a spreadsheet of over 400 ideas. Here are a few of them. This is actually, I just cut and paste this from my spreadsheet, my ideas bucket, of some, well, I think they're quite exciting ideas for YouTube. I'm just going to pick out a few of these here to give you a sense of some of the ones I want to make. So this one will be fun. Website design so bad it's good. I think that'd be a really fun video to make. So you look at kind of bad design, but actually it's good. Ling's Cars is a great example of that. 10 ways companies have screwed up users of proprietary systems. That would be a fun one. Then we've also got, I thought it'd be fun to run the unofficial 2024 WordPress Awards, where you have kind of slightly odd awards, and on and on. So I think don't worry about if you don't have many ideas. Committing to the process, it's like switching on a creative muscle. You might have one idea to start with, but if you commit to actually producing some videos, the ideas will come. Second big learning and piece of advice from me is gear doesn't matter. Prioritize storytelling. You will, especially if you come from a semi-technical background, which you may well do, your brain will be drawn to getting completely obsessed around gear and cameras and lighting and all sorts of auto prompters and all sorts of other stuff. And you'll find you don't actually make any videos. I've certainly done this. I'm guilty of this. my advice is gear doesn't matter. I follow quite a few YouTubers where the quality is pretty bad. Literally an iPhone will do, frankly. But the storytelling is amazing. So my advice is become obsessed around storytelling. It's everything. So study storytelling deeply. Don't study gear deeply. The gear stuff you'll learn and you'll get better at that as you go along, but don't get drawn into that to start with. There are loads and loads of great resources for storytelling. Here are my two favorite ones. So the first one on the left is one called creatorhooks.com. It's a free newsletter that you can sign up to. And every week you get top tips on how to create titles and thumbnails. And I'm going to explain in a few minutes why titles and thumbnails are just so important. It's fantastic though. He'll send you an email every week with great ones, and he'll have the title and the thumbnail. But then they'll also explain why they're so good, and he'll give them a score, like out of 1,000, saying this has got a hook score of 1,000 because it does this, this, and this. So it's a great way to learn what works in terms of titles and thumbnails, and also what doesn't work. So sign up for that. It's completely free. And then the other great resource is a YouTube channel called Film Booth by Ed over there on the right. This chap here. He has some incredible value in terms of how to become a YouTuber. There's obviously loads more out there, but these are two of my favorite ones. So if you are thinking about creating some video content, they are definitely worth a follow. Right, here is my video workflow process, and there are some very important steps in here which you might recoil at, but I recommend you do these. So we'll start from it goes left to right, and the first thing is the idea. And the first thing to say, ideas come from all sorts of places, but generally for me, never sitting down at my desk. They generally appear when I come into my brain when I'm out walking or shopping or in the shower, but odd places. So you're going to have some ideas. And then if I get excited about an idea, then I put it straight into my ideas bucket spreadsheet, which I showed you just a few minutes ago. Everything goes in there if I think it's a good idea. And then what naturally happens with that spreadsheet is that what I think are the exciting and useful ones, they bubble up to the top. And then at that point, if I have one that I think I want to make a video about, I move on to the next step, which is thumbnail and title. And I spend a lot of time thinking about the title and the thumbnail. It's incredibly, 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 incredibly important in YouTube to get a good thumbnail and title. So I try and give myself, again, this might sound odd, but at least a week before I start making it and I've actually finished it. And there's a process I go through where I create lots of them and to try and hone down the best one. I'm going to give you some top tips in a minute, how to create good thumbnails and titles and how to measure them. Once I've got a thumbnail and title, and only when I've got a good thumbnail and title, will I then program it into a content calendar. Then I go off and make it, and then I promote it. And I tend to promote them a lot on X and LinkedIn. And something that's worked well for me is to embed the whole video or slice and dice it and embed the video into those social streams, because things like platforms like X now, if you put a link in, it generally isn't servicing it very much. So embedding the actual video, even though you're not sending them to YouTube to watch it, that's fine because they're still seeing the content. Okay. Right. I want to dive into thumbnails and titles now because they are incredibly, incredibly important. One of the most important things about running a YouTube channel is to get good thumbnails and titles. They can make a huge difference in terms of how many people actually view your video. And I'm being very reductive here, but fundamentally, there are really just three main psychological drivers why anyone will click on your thumbnail and not somebody else's thumbnail. And remember, when you're making YouTube videos, the majority of your views you'll get from people when they see a bunch of thumbnails on YouTube and they choose one to click on. So your video is being seen in the context of everyone else's video. So your thumbnail has to drive that click more than your competitor. And these are the three big psychological drivers that I think you should consider when you're making your thumbnails. And those are curiosity, hope, and fear. And your video needs to have, and your thumbnail and your title have to have at least one of these. Hopefully two. 3 would be amazing, but they have to have at least one. If they don't have any of these, then in my view, you don't have a video. You need to go back and remake your thumbnail and title. And I'll just dive into a few examples of these to give you an idea of what each one means. So This is curiosity, and we've got some good examples of some thumbnails that really scream curiosity. So in the bottom left down here, we've got one from Marcus Brownlee, huge YouTuber, which you probably know. And the title is The Tesla Robotaxi is Confusing. And then it's got a price up here, and then it's got this sort of gold Tesla. So immediately my brain is going, that is, what's going on? Why is that? What's he going to say? So immediately I'm drawn, and I'm very, very curious about what that video is about. The other really interesting thing that all these thumbnail and titles do is they don't just dump the title into the thumbnail. You can see how there's a completely separate title to thumbnail. It's a complete waste of real estate. The thumbnail really should be supplemental to the title, because we see the title and then we see the thumbnail. There's no point just putting the text most times. Sometimes there is, but most times into the photo, into the image. Then up here, we've got Yamaha did it again. This is a YouTuber called Paul David. Again, huge YouTuber, millions of subscribers, 3.47 million subscribers. He has a music channel, pretty much focused on guitar. And again, the title's fantastic. I didn't want to like this guitar, ... And then Yamaha did it again. My brain is like firing. What did they do again? And why does he like the guitar? I'm really curious. So I'm probably going to, I did click on that one. And down here, this is the great Rick Beato here, who's got 4.5 million subscribers. Fantastic music channel if you're into music. And again, it's a great title. Mike Dawes plays the impossible, WTF. So it's an impossible thing, but I'm going to see if I click on it. And then obviously, whoa, that's the text. And then up here, this is my attempt at curiosity. So this CSS is amazing. And then the title is the best WordPress CSS snippet I've ever used. And again, the thumbnail supplements the title. Another tip here is if you are creating, the other two things to say here. One is this is not clickbait, because the CSS was amazing. So don't just create clickbaity titles. The video has to fulfill what the thumbnail says, otherwise you're going to break trust. So it has to be a good video. The other thing here is just a tip here. If you're ever doing titles like this, so I could have called this the best WordPress CSS snippet in the world. And a lot of people would argue with that. So you're already setting up confrontation. But because I said the best WordPress CSS snippet I've ever used, it's a personal opinion. So nobody can really argue against it or get cross about it, because it's just my view. And they can disagree with my view, but it's slightly different. It's subjective. Here's some good hope examples. So this is another huge YouTuber called Rick Shields, who's in the golf. He has a golf YouTube channel, and these are hope. So again, great title: How to Swing a Golf Club (brackets the easiest way). Easy sounds good to me, so that sounds like something I should be watching. It's only 7 minutes long. I can learn to swing a golf club really well in 7 minutes. Brilliant. And then the thumbnail absolutely, supplements the title, adds to it. So I'm going to click on that one. Here's an example of one I did recently, which went really well. And the title is WordPress mobile menus fixed in 3 minutes. What, only 3 minutes to fix a WordPress mobile menu? That sounds good. I'm going to commit to that. And again, the title is supplementary to the thumbnail is supplementary to the title. And then fear ones are fun. Fear is the other big emotional driver that you can use in your titles and thumbnails. So again, I picked some Ali Abdul here, huge YouTuber. This is a great before and after is always great, but this is a great fear one. The title is Why You're Always Distracted, 5 Mistakes Ruining Your Focus. So I'm thinking, am I distracted? I need to watch that to make sure I'm not making some big mistakes so I can be more productive. And then you've got a sad looking before and then a very productive looking after. Brilliant combination. And it gets loads and loads of views. I really like this one up here. So this is as somebody that's really bad at car mechanics. The title is Do Not Try to Fix Your Car Until You've Seen This Video. And again, my brain is thinking, what am I going to do to break my car? I really want to find out what not to do. So it's really playing on that fear emotion. And the thumbnail is brilliant. This guy here, don't touch your car, big warning sign. And this one here, down here, again, fantastic, playing into the fear, especially around golf, because if you take up golf or you're just starting to learn golf, it's kind of, you are worried about etiquette. So it's really playing into that fear emotion really strongly. So the title is 7 Etiquette Mistakes New Golfers Should Try to Avoid. The title does actually kind of replicate that, but you can see something weird is going on down here. So it's got curiosity and fear. Fantastic thumbnail. So those are the big psychological drivers that I'd recommend you think about when you're creating your thumbnails and titles. And here are some other tips that I would think about when you're thinking about creating content. So is your title and packaging, and that is your thumbnail and title, is it big, easy, new, and safe? So is it big? So does your YouTube title and thumbnail suggest that the video covers something significant or highly desirable? Is it easy? It should indicate that the content is accessible and easy to understand. Is it new? Kind of speaks for itself. And is it safe? Is it trustworthy? So when somebody sees the thumbnail, they're not just thinking that's clickbait and I'm not going to click on it. Is it trustworthy? And if you look at, I've just taken over the WordPress.org YouTube channel. And one of the things we've done historically very badly on that YouTube channel is we really make our people tiny. So it's one of the things we're working on, where we've got some amazing people. I'm going to pick out Nick Diego as an example. And previously, all the thumbnails on that channel of Nick have been tiny. But he's a thought leader, well trusted. He's a brilliant presenter. People love him, quite rightly. So now we're literally just going to make Nick bigger. So when they see that thumbnail, they know that the content they're going to get from that piece of video is Nick and trustworthy and valuable. So there's lots of ways you can instill trust in your viewers. And then the other really, really important thing, especially when you're creating sort of education type content, is put yourself in the seat of your viewer. So these are some questions I would say you should be asking. So what they're going to be asking, rather, what will I learn from this video? Is this information relevant to me? How long do I have to spend to watch this? Is the content beginner friendly or for advanced users? Is it just informational, and how credible is the information? So these are things that I would recommend you think about when you're putting your content together. The other thing that I found is really useful, before I make the video, and once I've got a couple, what I'll always do is create a couple of thumbnails that I'm sort of happy with, is to use things like X to test engagement first. So often what I'll do is tweet out a tweet, post out a tweet, post out a post with like an A/B and ask people which is the best thumbnail, and these get lots of engagement. So not only are you getting feedback on what people think is the best thumbnail, you are also testing whether people find that video concept interesting. So if you find you tweet these out and they get a lot of traction, it's a really good indicator that people are actually going to enjoy the video as well, because they're engaged and they're kind of attracted to that video. It's also a really great way of pre-promoting that you're actually making that video. So it's a really fun way of getting some feedback. And importantly, if you can't get a good thumbnail and title, don't make the video. If you can't get a good thumbnail and title, don't make the video. That's my strong advice, which if you're just starting off this journey, you will think that's a crazy thing to say. But honestly, having the discipline and the focus of making the thumbnail and title first, it hones the whole thesis of the video. It puts everything in perspective and makes you think about what the content of the video is going to be about. So it's a great creative process to go through anyway. So trust me. Here are a few storytelling tips. I've actually kind of published my whole, I've got a blueprint, which I published in a blog post, the URL is up on the screen, which is a PDF, which has got like the things I use and the templates I use that you're free to download. It's just a PDF in a blog post, and the link is on the screen if you want to go off and download that at some point. Some of this is a bit of homework if you are going to look into this. So hooks and loops, show not tell, I've used a lot on my sites, and I'll explain some of these in a few minutes. And then I would also say go and watch some theatre and study the 3-act play. It's really useful for a lot of videos as well. So here are some retention tips. Hooks and loops. So the hook is the first bit of the video, and I'm going to show you some example hooks that I've done in a minute. And then, so the hook is like, you get their attention quickly, they're attracted to the video, and they're going to invest some time into actually watching the video. And it's generally at the start of the video. And then the loop is something you introduce, like a question you introduce, and you might introduce many of these loops as you go through the video, but they are kind of open questions that you then close at some point during the video. But they are great for keeping people engaged throughout the videos that you make. Oh, I want to go back on that one. So what I'm about to show you here is, if I can play it, this is an example of a hook. And I spent a lot of time in some of my videos creating really beautiful intros to what people are about to learn. So I'll often say, preceding this clip I'm about to show you is me saying, I'm going to show you how to do amazing things with a WordPress cover block, things like this. And then I created this. Let me just play this. And I spent a lot of time making it as possible because they are the hook. This is a really cool effect, by the way, just using the cover block. There we go. So, and I spend a lot of effort. Yeah, I spend a lot of effort crafting these hooks to look as beautiful. So they're like little videos in themselves. So when people watch them, they really want to learn how to do those effects, and then they're kind of engaged in the video, and then I can go on and tell them how to actually do it. This is a really useful technique I find for the next bit, which is once you've got them into the video, this is really a really useful technique for distilling information to make it as concise as possible. I spend a lot of time trying to make my videos as short as humanly possible, but get across all the information. So no fluff. And the Feynman technique is a great way of, I think, in terms of creating educational concepts. So there are just 4 steps. Choose a concept, select the concept you want to learn about, and then teach it to a child. So explain the concept in your own words as if you were teaching it to someone with no background in the subject. And what this does, it forces you to simplify the terminology. I think we're really bad in the WordPress space of overwriting, and our language is very complex. Whereas I think this process forces you to actually simplify, and distill. Then number 3 is identify gaps and go back to the source material. My view is if you can't teach it simply, you probably don't understand the source material quite as well as you thought. And then step 4, review and simplify. So it's a great technique for educational content. Here are a few ways that I actually accelerated the growth of my YouTube channel, which I found worked for me. Obviously, this is going to be different for everyone, but here's just 5 of them. So one of the things that kind of boosted my channel growth was partnering with WordPress.com. I did a whole series of videos on their channel, and just the brand exposure gave me a big bump in my own personal channel. Running the speed builds, you may have heard of the speed builds, where we have 2 players and they have to remake a famous website in 30 minutes, and it's like a nice fun competition. Just having that unique format has kind of broadened the normal viewers that come to the channel, and it's gone beyond the channel now, because it's now become part of. It was at WordCamp Europe, and it was at WordCamp US in Portland, and it may be at WordCamp Asia, and some other, and it's going to be in Rome in a few weeks' time. So that's kind of that whole exposure of that one format, which is kind of extending beyond the channel. I obsessively repost lots of video content on X and LinkedIn, and I embed them directly rather than linking out to them. So I recommend you do that. Partnering with sponsors. I've done quite a bit of sponsorship, and obviously the sponsors promote my stuff and send it to their people. And then I've just started experimenting. YouTube now has its own inbuilt promotion where you can actually boost inorganically videos. So you can put some advertising money behind one of your videos. You can choose a video and say, right, I want to show this in these territories, and this is the amount I'm going to spend on it. I found mixed success with that. For some videos, it works fantastically. Generally, the ones for me that work really well are the shorter ones, like I do. For example, I did one called WordPress 6.6 in 250 seconds. I promoted that and it went gangbusters. So for some shorter videos, I find that has a lot of success. And you can increase subscribers and views for those videos for doing it. The other thing that's really worked for me is to create a whole lot of mini formats, mini series. I'll show you a few of these here. So, and the advantage of these as well, from a monetization point of view as well, that they are very easy for sponsors to pick out the ones they want. I have like a page on my website, and it's like a menu. They just go, I want that one, that one, that one, that one. So sponsored videos, and I'll show you an example of one of those. This is one I did with Solid WP, which is fun. I'm going to show you that in a second. And then I do these shorter ones, 200 50-second sponsored videos. With these ones here as well, I try and make them kind of creatively more interesting than just showing the product. I try and, coming back to the kind of show not tell example, I try and actually show the thing. So for this one, which the title was "Watch a Hacker Break into a WordPress Website," and then the thumbnail says "Hacker Secret Tricks Revealed." Rather than just showing the software, I thought it'd be fun to go on off actually hire a hacker. So that's what I did. I went off and found a hacker and hired him, and he tried to break into the website. In this video, I want to show you this. So I actually, I'll show you. This is the intro to the video that I actually ended up making. I'll just show you. I'll just play the intro for you. In this video, you're going to learn the 3 most common tricks that hackers are using today to break into your website. And you're also going to learn how to stop them. But first, some scary stats. Yeah, curiosity. That's okay. The team at Solid WP approached me to make a video about their Solid suite of products, which does security backups and management. Now, this is a sponsored video, so I'm not going to do a review or express my personal opinions. And anyway, I thought it'd be far, far more interesting to hire a hacker and watch them try to break in to a WordPress website. So I scoured the internet to find the best hacker I could, until eventually I found Ryan Dewhurst, formerly the founder of WP Scan, which was acquired by Automatic, the parent company of WordPress.com. WP Scan looks for WordPress vulnerabilities, and Ryan probably knows more than anyone else in WordPress about how to protect your website from hackers. Ryan now works as an ethical hacker doing secret things. I asked Ryan to try and break into a WordPress website without solid WP protection, and then to try and break into a website with solid WP protection. There was only one problem. Ryan lives in Malaga, so there was only one thing for it. So I did actually go to Malaga. I was on holiday anyway, but I met up with Ryan on the beach and interviewed him. And then the video goes on to show him actually trying to break into a website and seeing actually what happens. So rather than, it's show not tell. I could have just done the video. This is the software. This is kind of the settings. A little bit boring, lots of dashboard stuff. I thought it'd be far more fun to actually go and meet a hacker, find out his story, and actually see him trying to break into a website. So it was a fun way to address that video. Here's a few other examples of some mini formats I do. So recreating a famous website. I've done a whole bunch of videos around that. I'm going to show you a brief example of one of those. And then I've kind of introduced pre-roll sponsors as well, so people can book sponsorship before the video. So the remaking famous websites was kind of preceded the WordPress speed build idea, where I took things like, rebuilt things like Night.com and TechCrunch and a whole bunch of other websites, Taylor Swift, and showed them how to do it using the block editor in just 30 minutes. And this is an example of the New York Times. I have speeded this up, but this is kind of, again, this is a great show not tell. So rather than telling people what to do, you show it, and you're going to see this is a split screen. So over on the right, I've got the actual New York Times. Over on the left, you can actually see me. People love these because they can actually see something tangible happening. On the left, you can see me trying to do it. And obviously, love this because they can see what's going on. It's them believe that they can actually do this thing. With learning, it's also interesting to see the process. I get pretty close, not far away. So people love those where they can actually see stuff happening. A few other mini formats. I've done quite a few of these. Obviously the speed build challenge. And then the other thing that people love is I get my daughters, Meg, Lily, and soon Hetty, not yet, to test out a product and then video how they get on. So this is, I'm just going to show you a brief example of, we did one which was Wix versus WordPress, which is this one. This is Lily with Wix.
Cute little buttons. No, let's change the word again. That's so cute. Now it looks all wonky. Let me have my caption. No.
Girls, you've got 30 minutes to design the best looking website. Lily, you're using Wix. Megan, you're using WordPress Gutenberg, and the winner gets a whopping £20. There we go. And again, that's great. People love that. And we got the viewers to vote for their winners. I ended up paying both of them because they both did great. A few other things to say on YouTube. It opens up all sorts of extraordinary doors, which you just don't expect when you start creating content. Just the fact that you start creating content gets you into really weird and great places. So just some of the comments I've had on some of my stuff. So Yo's saying something nice here, and Matt saying something nice, and Matt Cromwell. And honestly, the difference between going to like a WordPress meetup or a WordCamp is extraordinary. From before starting a YouTube channel, I'd wander around and nobody would come and say hello, and I'd just stand in the corner anonymously, to now when I go to a WordCamp, everyone knows who I am because they see my face a lot on YouTube. So it really is an incredible thing. The other thing that happens, which is fantastic, is you learn so much about WordPress that you never knew before. So I thought I knew WordPress because I've been in the space for 15 years and I've taught thousands of people and I had plugins, but actually I only knew my little silo. But once you start creating content, all sorts of people reach out to you and you discover this whole huge, the enormity, you get more sense of the enormity of the WordPress ecosystem. For example, talking to the guys at Big Byte about the amazing project they're doing with News UK, and they're integrating their news desk with Gutenberg, and there's this bilateral sync, which is synced up to journalists, just incredible stuff. Spoke to Tom at Human Made about the TechCrunch projects, and then also, you know, the smaller plugins as well, like Twentig, which is a great free plugin. Fantastic team of people working on it. So you discover all these jewels in the WordPress ecosystem that you wouldn't normally know. And then a couple of final slides before I wrap up. If any of you out there are looking to make money out of this, one of my biggest tips is outreach. So I discovered this amazing stat about Napoleon. Last year, he wrote 36,000 letters in his lifetime. He was a great general, it turns out, but he was an even better networker. He was crazy on networking. He would write letters like crazy. So it's one of the things that I've done a lot of, especially since I've been monetizing my channel, is outreach, just emailing people. And I'll often email potential sponsors and say, I've got this amazing idea. How about we make this video? Just because I will have constantly thinking about their products and ideas. And that's how the hacker video came about. Actually, I thought, well, that would be a fun video to make. And so I contacted Drew, and we made that video. So outreach is incredibly powerful. Also, you'll get to know lots of people. As you probably know, or you may know, I've taken over the WordPress.org YouTube channel, and I'm currently putting together a content plan. I just thought we'd give you a little sneak peek of some of the cool stuff coming up. So we're going to go big on live streaming next year. These are some of the things we're doing. So live masterclasses from January 2025. I'm really keen to do a speed build world series where we have like a big competition and a big prize, and maybe the final is at one of the WordCamps. I want to do a whole bunch of stuff around aiming for beginners to help them get on board with WordPress. So I think a live show would be fantastic. It's a bit like a drop-in surgery where they come with their problems and we help them out, build a community around that. My background is training, so I'd love to do lots of live training courses. We've already done some work with Developer Hours with Nick and Justin and the team, doing some cool stuff. And then we're also thinking of some fun concepts around things like a block factory show where people would contact or request a block that we make, and then we actually make it live on air. And then at the end of the process or the episodes, we launch that block into the repo. So there's lots of cool ideas coming up. If you have any ideas as well, please, please, please get in touch with me. Here's some important final points for you. You can't please all the people. What you'll discover as soon as you start creating content, there will be some negative stuff going on. Here's a great example. So this is some comments I got about the speed build. So a lot of people were really positive about the speed build series, but some people weren't. And you can see the quotes up on the screen. But remember, everything is content and an opportunity for content. So take the negative comments and make interesting content out of them. So I actually took their comments and put a tweet out that said, you can't please all the people all the time, but what's your opinion on the WordPress speed builds, with their quotes online. And obviously people came back and said, we love the speed builds, they're fantastic, keep going. But don't be too disheartened if you're getting some negative feedback. Getting no feedback at all is worse than negative feedback. So be prepared for some, it's going to come your way. But my advice is use it as a opportunity. And then the other thing you want to do is include cats. So this sounds a bit silly, but at the end of all my videos, I have if you like this video, click here, click like, and my cats will get a little treat. And it's very flippant and silly, but actually it gets a lot of likes. It really works. And so I play a video like you're about to see at the end of all my videos. I've made about 5 of these where a like button gets hit and the cat gets a treat. And this is just one example. The thing calling is Dreamies. That's a treat. And there's one of my cats getting the treat. I mean, it sounds really silly, but it gets a lot of likes. People love that sort of stuff. And then the final slide is have a call out at the end. So I do this really badly. But if you're making videos and there is a logical next video that you've made that you could point people towards, do it at the end of the video. Say, well, if you found this useful, then you should definitely go and watch this video. And that's what I've done here. So if you are interested in zero-click marketing, the Google leak and all the other stuff around SEO and content marketing, I'm interviewing Rand Fishkin on the 4th of December on my channel. So that's my end call out. And that's the end of my presentation. I hope that was useful. Michelle, are you there?
I am here. That was fantastic.
Was I in time? I was about right.
You're doing very well. You're doing very well. So we didn't have a lot of questions. We had some comments.
Okay.
So the design space says they could watch those speed builds all day.
Thank you, Melissa.
So there you go. There's there's one positive comment.
Well, that might be happening, so that's good to hear.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And somebody else just says, do you think AI will leave us without work? So how much do you use AI in preparing your videos?
In terms of, I'll tell you what I use it a lot for is coming up with better titles.
Yeah, I've done that too.
I'm a honer, so I generally come up with a concept and then I'll use it like it's a friend and I'll bounce ideas off. That's the way I use it at the moment, generally.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Making content better. So I find it really useful, but definitely not using it. I use it in some thumbnail design as well.
Okay.
In terms of there's one I'm really getting into at the moment called Ideagram, because you can actually you can say to it, I want an image of a computer with build a membership website in 10 minutes on, and it'll actually create that whole thing. It's good at understanding text and putting text in the image. So that's quite fun. Yeah.
I wrote down some things myself. So let me go into my list here. First of all, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say in a live video, hire a hacker. So like kudos to you on that, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I also have to comment on all the photos of yourself. I love that you like lean right into the goofiness sometimes with some of the things that you pictures you've taken of your. Well, you know what I'm saying because you did it on purpose.
Yeah,
that's fun. But back to one of the first comments that you made about simplification. One of the things that I re-edit myself for is to remove things like buzzwords and acronyms. Do you also do something like that?
Yes. I naturally don't like them anyway, so I've generally been decorporatized, and I think in WordPress we suffer from like things like quality of life. I think is a terrible phrase when you're just explaining like the user interface has got better. So I'm very anti. I'm really into. I think that's a good lesson actually. That I think a lot of people when they create content worry about trying to look intelligent. And actually, I think your job as a content creator is to make your audience feel intelligent rather than make you look intelligent. And I think that's the natural kind of fear of when you start creating content. But actually, people don't mind if your content is aimed below them in terms of their skill levels. They're quite happy with that. So
the question I usually get when I talk about podcasting is, what equipment do you suggest? And I love that you said start with the equipment you have. and build from there, because that's what that's always my advice too. But nothing beats a nice sounding microphone. So at the very least, I tell people, if you can invest $30 to get something better than
well,
just
this
your
is
computer mic.
It's not actually working today, but that's mine,
Nice.
which is very simple. It's nice. But obviously you can, a good
and
mic.
I just have a little Shure mic right on my desk. I've also used Yetis and everything else.
I think you're right. And audio, I think audio is much more important actually than the camera, for sure.
It's hard. It's really hard to listen to something that's got snow or that's got a lot of interruption. So I think the sound quality is important. But here's my real question. So I partake of video on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and most of what we do on YouTube is, it's wider than it is tall, so it's horizontal. But what do you think of repurposing some of that content into these video shorts that are, set up to view on a phone and full screen? And do you do any of that with even like make commercials on things that are coming up?
No, I think there's a great quote from Gary Vaynerchuk, which he said, content is king, but context is God. And I think that's right. I think that it's YouTube is a different context to TikTok, and it's a different context to Twitter often. So I think I'm pretty much just on. I mean, I repurpose some of my stuff on Twitter. I don't change that. I think if I was producing stuff for TikTok, I would create a completely different type of content, because I think the stuff I do wouldn't fly on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then my last question is, the quality of your videos is, it's absolutely so professional, so well done. The little plane flying around, all the little,
that was really not professional. That was very, that was literally just,
But it looks so well designed, I will say, right? So I create a video and it's just me talking to the screen, and maybe I'm showing slides, right? Because I haven't got into all of that. Do you edit and produce all of your videos yourself? Do you have a team? Is there other people that help?
It's just me. And actually, talking about, that aeroplane was literally just a little thing I hacked together in Canva. They've got a little animation tool, so it was dead simple. And actually, a lot of I'm trying to search for whether I can see it. I do these whiteboard things quite often, which is just me scribbling on a whiteboard. People love the low-tech stuff. So you could do those you could spend days on those, but actually me just writing on a whiteboard and showing the whiteboard, and people love that. I stole that from Rand Fishkin, because he does this thing called Whiteboard Fridays in the old days, and he still does.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome.
I think if you can hone the message, people don't really care about how. I think authenticity is kind of much more important than trying to create something that looks very corporate actually for YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's true. But I would say it's professional quality as opposed to stodgy professional is what I was trying to get at, right? It was very, very well executed. And then the last thing I want to say is, it has never occurred to me to exploit my cats. And so I'm definitely going to start doing more cat videos and cat photos, and including them in just everything.
Everything should be cats. People, what else are they earning for their money?
I don't know. I may even throw an I can has cheeseburger thing in there at some point in time.
Exploit. I was going to say exploit the cats. That's probably coming along.
Pay the kids, exploit the cats. I love it. That's great. If I've learned nothing else today, that is very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jamie. Do you have any last thoughts? One last piece of advice you'd like to drop before we sign off?
Just get creating. That's the only thing. Create some content and enjoy the process. Make sure you enjoy the process.
I love it. Actually, there's a couple more questions. I don't have them to put on the screen, but here we are. Okay. I would really like the speed build to evolve into platform comparisons. Is that something that's considered?
Funny you should say that. We've got a special. The series returns in November, and we've got Wix versus WordPress.
Ooh, I like that. That'll be fun to watch.
That is a great question, and it's coming.
Awesome. And then the last one is that they're just starting their channel. Is it better to start with one style of video?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think you just got to. I'm not sure what style means. So what you start with is not where you're going to end up in a year's time. So that's why the cadence is so important, because you will find your path your creative path as you start creating. That's why that's so important.
I love that you keep using the word cadence too. So, and I know you mean it with a C instead of with a K, but hey, if it works, it works.
It works. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Jamie, for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks,
And
everyone.
we'll see you later.